Cameroon is facing serious challenges from the twin COVID-19 pandemic and terms of trade shocks. Weak global demand, depressed commodity prices and domestic containment measures weigh on the outlook and are causing significant adverse economic and social effects. The shocks have given risks to substantial fiscal pressures and an urgent balance of payments needed. Now, the IMF approved a disbursement under the Rapid Credit Facility of $226 million to support the authorities' efforts in addressing Cameroon's urgent balance of payment needs stemming from the COVID-19 pandemic. Joining me now to look at some of these developments in Cameroon is Matt Kinninger, Senior Analyst, Sub-Saharan Africa at Docker Frontier, London. Hello, Matt. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
So Cameroon is one of the markets you cover. How has the economy been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic and global economic slowdown? And do you think government responses so far has been adequate?
Yes, so Cameroon has been one of the most adversely affected economies in West Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa by the COVID-19 pandemic and the global economic slowdown. And this is because over the last few years, the main drivers of growth have been oil prices, oil revenues, as well as investments into infrastructure and re-exports to neighboring landlocked countries. Now, all of these things have slowed down quite considerably, and this has put the economy under quite considerable pressure. In terms of the government's response to the global economic slowdown and the domestic economic slowdown, the government is very severely constrained in terms of what it can do to support the economy. A problem with Cameroon is that because it's a member of the CFA franc, the central CFA franc, the currency can't be devalued unilaterally. And this means that exports can't become more competitive as a result of the devaluation. And so this means that the country needs to find ways of becoming more competitive. But unfortunately, the government has very limited means by which it can support the economy. The government has introduced some measures such as increasing expenditure on the healthcare sector, as well as some tax breaks. So a delay in payment of VAT, some tax holidays for certain sectors. But by and large, the government is quite restricted in terms of how much it can support the economy at this time.
Now, Cameroon is one of several West African countries that have sought emergency loans from the IMF. What can businesses expect from governments in terms of fiscal policy in the coming year?
Yes, so the IMF has intervened in a number of countries with emergency loans. Cameroon is just one of them. We've seen a multi-billion-dollar loan issued to Nigeria, $1 billion issued to Ghana, also in emergency funding. And this is mainly because public finances across the region, including in Cameroon, are in a fundamentally worse position than they were just 3 or 4 months ago. So the IMF's role is really vital in helping these countries ensure that they can continue to maintain day-to-day spending and government operations. But looking ahead towards the end of 2020 and 2021, this will have an impact on fiscal policy. So we are expecting taxes to rise. Many governments across the region were already increasing taxes incrementally. We expect these taxes to be brought forward and tax increases to be introduced. And there's also likely to be a reduction in some forms of expenditure, especially infrastructure investment. So we could see a slowdown in publicly funded projects.
Now, in parallel to the COVID-19 pandemic, Cameroon is enduring long-running conflicts in Anglophone regions and in the far north. How have these insurgencies affected the commercial landscape?
So I'll make it quite clear, actually, from the outset that the majority of companies operating in Cameroon, domestic and international, multinationals, haven't been directly affected by the insurgencies in the Anglophone region and in the far north. And this is because most commercial activity is in Douala and Yaoundé. However, for companies that are operating in Anglophone regions, they are facing increasing risk of disruption and interruptions to day-to-day business. And this is because of an escalating cycle of violence between insurgents and the government's armed forces and security services. So a number of companies are facing difficulties around supply chains, route to market issues. And the government has also used shutdowns of the internet in the past to contain the insurgency. So this also causes quite considerable disruption to companies operating in Anglophone regions in particular.
So what is the outlook for Cameroon's economy?
So the short-term outlook is not very good for Cameroon. We are expecting here at Dutch Frontier that the economy will contract by about 1.5% this year. This is quite significant because it is the first recession that Cameroon will experience in almost 30 years. The last time the economy contracted was in the early 1990s. And this is mainly because of the sustained decline in oil prices, which will hammer export revenues and government revenues. We're also expected to see a sort of sustained drop in re-export trade. The country earns quite a lot of money from re-export trade to neighboring countries. Investment projects as well, which were a major driver of growth up until this year, are also expected to slow quite considerably, and international business trade as well, business travel will be quite constrained. However, looking ahead, we are expecting the economy to recover somewhat in 2021, so it probably will be quite a short recession limited to 2020.
All right, thank you very much, Matt, for your time. Enjoy the rest of the day.